Have you had exam anxiety that affects your memory in a test? I mean, have you ever had this? You're sitting in a test and you're going, oh, I remember studying this, but what was it? What was it? Oh man, I can't remember. And then you get out of the test and you go, oh, that's it, I remember. Why couldn't I remember it in the test? Well, if you've experienced that, you've experienced exam anxiety hindering your ability to recall information. Now, why does it happen and what can we do to prevent it from happening? Well, here's why it happens. Let's get a bit of anatomy with the brain. If we look at our brain here, we've got our brain stem. We've got our cerebellum, and our cerebellum controls the movement of our body. Then we have our cerebrum. Underneath our cerebrum, we have an emotional center in our midbrain. Okay, hypothalamus. We have our pituitary gland coming down here, and this is the thalamus up here. And so this is our brain here. And if you can imagine that if we could break the brain up into a hindbrain, a midbrain, and a forebrain. The forebrain is what we do for all our higher complex thinking up here. Then we have our midbrain, which is emotion. So let's do thinking. This is emotion. And this basically stuff back here is our primitive brain, our forebrain, and that's really for our basics in life, breathing, movement. And so we could say in a way this is really our flight or fight. This is the stuff that we rely on when we need to save our life. Now, if we think about it for a second, if you've done a bit of research into emergency situations, you'll know that when something emergency happens that's going to kill you, it's going to kill people, earthquakes, fire, flood, people panic. And when they panic, they don't think properly. They go into flight or fight. And so you will see some people running towards the danger instead of running away from the danger. Okay? A typical example I remember doing at home when I was a lot younger, I think maybe, I don't know, 8 or whatever. I remember sitting in the park. It was fairly dark. And I was eating chips, hot chips, you know, with a friend of mine, and we had our bikes there and stuff. And we're eating away and everything, and then all of a sudden we heard this noise, and we looked up and we saw a person running towards us. So we, of course, thought, oh my God, they're going to get us. So we hopped on our bikes, we started riding. We were riding really, really fast, you know. And we went onto a road, right, and the road had like the gutter. And we were riding, and because I was panicking, I wasn't thinking properly about the other side of the gutter. And so the front of my bike hit the gutter. Of course, the bike stopped and I kept going, right? Newton's first law. And so I went flying over this fence because my bike had hit the gutter. And then I was sort of hopping up and looking, and then when I noticed the person that was running, they were just running to their car so that they could drive home. So the scenario was very weird, but it did teach me a couple of things. It taught me Newton's first law of motion. Also taught me that about panic and anxiety and how it closes your mind to think properly. So if we imagine that this emotion center is like a little doorway here, and when you're relaxed, right, your emotions allow you to access your thinking part of your brain. And so you can problem solve, you can think, right? But when you are stressed, that doorway closes and the emotion builds up and it blocks your ability to think. And so you more go towards this flight or fight response. You don't think about the consequences. And so from an exam point of view, you're in an exam and you're panicking and you're going, oh my God, I've only got this amount of time left. Oh, I remember studying this, but I can't remember right now. That's closing the door, which means you're not going to access the knowledge that you need to answer the question. So that's why it happens. And of course, when you get out of the exam, the pressure's off now, and you go, oh, that's right. I had to use this to answer that. Too late. So what can we do to stop that door closing in an exam? Well, the first thing is you can prepare properly. If you prepare properly for an exam, you're walking into that exam with a lot of confidence. A lot of confidence. So that door's wide open now. You're relaxed, you're feeling confident, you're ready to go. So when I say prepare, that you've studied, You've done all example questions, as many as you possibly can. You've seen teachers. You've got help, right? You've studied so many different ways by yourself, with your friends, doing questions that you know your stuff. And so you feel confident going in. Once you're in, you don't just do the exam page 1 to page 10. You have some technique. So using exam techniques help you do the best in the exam, all right? And we're going to make separate videos on exam techniques. So one that I tend to do and advise students to do is to do the questions they know they're going to nail first. When you look through an exam, there's always a spread of questions, easier, middle, and harder ones. So, you know, what happens if you start on question 2 and that happens to be the second hardest question of the paper? That's going to put you in a negative mindset, and it's going to start closing the door, and you're going to start questioning yourself. But if you do the exam in a different way and you just take a quick little note, spend 60 seconds looking through the exam and taking a mental note, this one's easy, oh, that one's a bit challenging, need to think about that one, this one's really easy. You do all the easy ones first. And then when you do the easy ones first, you're feeling good, you're feeling powerful, because you know that you've nailed it, you got your maximum amount of marks, and that door is still wide open, ready for the problem solving with the harder questions. So there's exam techniques in terms of question order. All right, make sure you watch the video and that could go through it in more detail. There's also called time management, right? Time management. You're not spending lots and lots of times on certain questions because you're going to run out of time on other questions. That's going to build up anxiety. That's going to start closing the door. So you've got lots of techniques there. You're going to be using things in the exam to help you get in a physiological state. So what should we call this? So we want to make sure that you are in a physiological state to do that exam. What can you do? Well, one of the things I suggest is when you study at home or when you study somewhere, that you just rub something on your wrist. I like lavender, so you put lavender or something there, so you just have a bit of a smell and you study. So what you're doing is you're associating the lavender relaxing smell with knowledge just coming out. So you can put lavender on your wrist or somewhere, you know, that's going to be in the exam. You might just smell like lavender, walk straight in. When you get to hard part of the questions, just scratch your nose like this and you can smell the lavender. It's going to put you in a relaxed state. It's going to bring back memories of you studying, and that's going to be a cascade effect, and then you're going to be, that door's going to be open and you're going to be able to access and answer the question. So it's about creating a correct physiological state. You know, are you warm? Are you comfortable? If the exam room is going to be cold, you wear warm clothes, right? So you don't wear clothes that are going to make you cold and uncomfortable. You want to be calm and relaxed. So your physiological state is going to affect your exam performance. So there's lots of things that we can do to keep that door open so that you can access the areas to answer the question. That's how you can minimize exam anxiety. That's how you can maximize your performance in the exam and get the total amount of marks that you possibly can out of that paper, so you can walk out of that paper feeling confident that you have done the best you possibly can. All right, hope that makes sense for you. Give some of those things a try. Make sure to watch the other videos in terms of preparation, study, flashcards, study technique, you know, techniques in terms of exam techniques, how do we do it in terms of question order, time management, physiological state, tips, etc. All these things work together to hone you to become the best possible student that you can be, right? Remember the video that you may have watched on sports versus study? A sports person has all these areas taken care of. They have psychological coaches. They have coaches to work on strength training, their core training. They have video analysis. They have management to manage their time. They have nutritionists and dietitians, and they have a whole team of people in a lot of different areas helping them to succeed. That just doesn't happen by, you know, doing it once, right? Same goes for your study. Break it up, work every area to enhance your learning. All right, hopefully that makes sense. See you in another video. Keep studying.